before making my Spirited Away food stall miniature, I did paint some scenes from the movie, including the food stall. The biggest reason I wanted to do this video separately is because I went a little wild and I ended up doing multiple pages of painting. I just couldn't help myself. I love to do a painting of whatever I'm gonna build in miniature before I start building so that I can really get my mind wrapped around all of those juicy details. It helps me a lot to really understand everything that's in the space and get a good idea of how I'm gonna start building it. For all of my projects and paintings, I use pretty much exclusively the cheapest craft paint that I can get. The craft paint works well enough for practice paintings. The only thing I do recommend is getting a halfway decent white. I've worked with some really terrible translucent whites, and it was not a good time. I started out, of course, by painting the food stall. So sometimes I put a color wash down first, depending on the painting, but I do usually start a piece by putting in color blocks, just to try and create a foundation for the piece. So much of painting is really just about building up layers, and the first layer is often quite ugly. I've said it before, but truly I think one of the most important things in crafting and painting is sticking out through the ugly stages, of which there might be many of. Sometimes it's really tough because it can feel like you're getting nowhere or that it's gonna be a complete disaster by the end. And you know what? Sometimes maybe it will be, but usually once you get through this part, you'll end up in a place where you start feeling better about the piece and you can finish it more easily. Sometimes if you're feeling extra discouraged about how a piece is turning out, going to a part that you feel the best about and building that out more can help, because it'll sort of make you see the sunshine amidst a rainstorm, shall I say. And you can keep that light in mind while you're bailing bucketfuls of water out of your sinking ship.
You think the storm could sink the ships?
No, ships can handle a storm.
Did I take that metaphor too far? Maybe. Basically, if you're struggling on one part of the project, sometimes it helps to develop your favorite part to a point that you like, so you feel there's some hope to carry you through the harder parts of the project. Now, maybe I'm saying this because I feel like I've been going through that in life lately. I've really been doubting that this can ever be something that I make enough to live off of. I'm honestly slightly reluctant to talk about this because, quite frankly, I'm in an extremely lucky position and I don't take any of the huge amount of support all of you have given me for granted. It's more that I'm wondering if I also need to go sign my name away to Yubaba for a bit. Anyway, the point is I'm really trying to keep that sunshine in mind amidst the storm. In this piece, that was the stained glass windows for me, so I kind of tried to build those out a little bit so that I could really get that motivation to keep trucking on through the rest of this piece. I've been using acrylic markers to do a lot of small finishing details at the very end, and I just love it so much. It makes everything so much easier to get tiny details in and just finish off a piece really nicely. Once complete, we get to peel the tape off. Now, usually this is where we would be done, but what about the rest of the restaurant village? What about the spirits? There was really no other option. Let's be honest. So I did 3 more smaller scenes on the opposite page, and we're starting with the Radish Spirit. Now, I went for this one first because I thought it would be the quickest. A lot of the time in Ghibli films, the ones with the characters are usually the quicker ones to draw because there's less background, and the backgrounds are where it gets really detailed. This one had lots of yellow and red. I think one of the many reasons Ghibli films are so successful is because of the memorable character designs. I mentioned this in my original Spirited Away miniature video, but they really do stick in your head. With Spirited Away, I remember watching it as a kid and not even remembering the name of the movie, but I could remember so many things about it. The parents turning into pigs, the train on the water, the giant baby. So many memorable and distinctive scenes, unlike any other movie I've ever seen. At the very end, I'm going in to line the character with an ink pen as well, which is where everything really starts to come together. The other spirit that I wanted to paint is the Stink Spirit. Let's be honest, the Stink Spirit is kind of cute. I might just be saying that because I don't have to smell it, but look at it in the tub. This scene has a really cool background with the wooden walls of the bathhouse and the really pretty painted trees on it. Gotta love it. This is why doing any art gets so dangerous. If there ever comes a day that I can afford a house, I feel like I'm just gonna be in there painting murals on walls and doing themed rooms. For me, I do think the background on this one was probably the hardest part of painting it. Never trust the way you feel about a piece until the very end, because the smallest step in the process could really change everything in how everything looks and how you feel about the final result. I saved the scene with the signs for last because I figured it would take the longest and be the most complicated, and I was right. This one actually did help me a lot with the project because I ended up including a lot of these signs in the miniature. I really wish they had translated some of the signs in the subtitled version of the movie, because I do think that even the few that I can read add to the movie quite a bit. There are a lot of I and I related signs that really kind of give you the feeling of them being watched and something being off immediately at the beginning of the film when they first enter. This is the character for sky or heaven, which sort of also hints at this being the spirit world. I don't know, it's small things, but it is unfortunate that we lose a lot of things like this with the translated versions of the movie. Although I guess it's good encouragement to keep learning kanji. This scene was really nice because there was a perfect image of this full background in the art book. I'll say it again, the art book was such a great reference and just overall super inspirational and interesting all around. I totally recommend taking art books out of your local library for inspiration if they have them. I also think they would be great if you're feeling some kind of art block or struggling with a project. Just taking a look at art books or even graphic novels, manga, comics can help so much. Doing all the fine details here at the very end and really laying in that vibrant sky layer was so satisfying. The last little piece from the film that I snuck in on this page was the frog spirit. I just had to add him in the bottom right corner. This is just my whole life. Why you gotta stand on what I'm working on? It was kind of a funny pose because it's from right after it was stunned by Haku and landed on the ground and was really disoriented. After I had done all of these studies, I figured it was time to put my own imagination to the test. I've just been dying to design some of my own spirits. I did a Lotus Spirit and a kind of mischievous night spirit. Maybe steal socks from your dryer under the cover of darkness, never to be seen again. I toyed around with the layout on this page with these ones because I've also been really inspired by comics and graphic novels lately. I just absolutely love some of the super creative layouts and gorgeous art. Ugh, I have so much respect for comic artists. I know it is so much work, and some of the stuff I've read is just unbelievably beautiful. Shout out to all the comic artists and illustrators out there. You are the coolest. So I started with the Lotus Spirit. I'm not gonna lie, I am completely obsessed with lotus plants to the point that I am actually attempting to grow some. Look at this tiny leaf. And I may have even went overboard and painted lotus on the pot that I shall be putting the lotus in. I simply can't get enough lotus. They are just so beautiful. So I had to design a Lotus Spirit. I wanted the background to be inspired by the Gateway building in the film, with lots of oranges and reds and greenery and lots of texture. Since this is a very nature-based spirit, I thought having it in an overgrown area would be really, really cool. The spirit is quite long generally, maybe lanky is a good word, and I wanted its feet to almost look like roots as if it was growing up from the ground where it stands. So I included lots of cool leaf elements, of course. My favorite lotuses are the traditional pink to white kind of gradient ones. So of course that is what I did for my Lotus Spirit. Then I have incorporated some of the leaves almost as giant ears and as a decal on its clothing. I wanted to bring some of the pink from the flower down, so I put some little pink flowers on the legs as well. We're really just trying to get a nice balance of colors here, and then we can go in to line it.
Said you won't forget my name. Not today, not tomorrow. When you come back around, we know what to say. Not today. Tell me more, tell me more, tell me more. Right from head to toe.
On the end of its finger, I included a bath token because what does a lotus love more than soaking? Then I moved on to the night spirit. So this one I decided to put in the bathhouse with an overflowing bath in the background because I imagine this spirit would just go in and cause chaos for fun. The main body of it I wanted to be purple just because I love purple, but also I thought that would be very fitting for a night spirit. Now this spirit is a little bit more based off of some of the masked robed spirits in the film. It has a little glowing eye and then some dangly ornaments on its robe that were almost reminiscent of stars. Of course, it has to have a moon mask. You didn't think you would be escaping the moons in this video, did you? After all of it was painted, I have to go in and line it again as well. And then before we finish off the rest, I had to pull the tape off. And like with the bath token with the Lotus Spirit, we do have a small element breaking the frame with some little sprouts, I guess, on either side of its head. Honestly, I can't tell you exactly why, but I just felt like it made the spirit look more mischievous. If anyone can explain that to me, drop me a comment. The final thing I had to do on that page is line the two panels for each of the spirits, and then all of our paintings were complete. So let's take a look at our final paintings. To be honest, I didn't even stop after this because I went and did the illustration for the postcards that I'm sending out to the full tier on Patreon. And yeah, I do absolutely just have such a blast painting. I know that the videos maybe aren't as exciting as the miniatures, but I hope they could be fun regardless. As always, I want to say the biggest thank you to everyone on Patreon and Ko-fi that have supported the channel. It's rough out here. You all really do keep me going. I'm working on a really fun and exciting project right now that will be coming to you at the end of March. If you want a pretty big spoiler of what that's gonna be, if you want to go check out Bill Making Stuff's video that I will link in the description, and it'll be coming to you very soon.